There are two players walking out for kickoff this weekend with the exact same talent, the exact same fitness, the exact same coach, yelling the exact same instructions from the sideline. One of them is going to have the best game of his season. The other is going to spend 90 minutes a half step behind everything, a half second late to every ball, a half thought late to every decision, gassed by the 60th minute for no reason he can explain. The difference between those two players isn't going to happen during the game. It already happened before it. In the hours, the meals, the warm-up, the thoughts running through their head in the tunnel. All of it locked in before the referee even lifted the whistle to his mouth. Most players treat match day like it starts at kickoff. The ones who actually perform treat kickoff as the end of the preparation, not the beginning of it. This video is everything that needs to happen before that whistle blows. Your mind, your body, your fuel, your first 10 minutes, and what to do the second you make a mistake. Watch the whole thing, because skipping any one piece is exactly how players sabotage themselves without ever knowing why. Let's get into it. Here's something almost nobody tells young players. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between nervous and ready. Physically, they feel almost identical. Racing heart, tight chest, restless legs, a stomach that won't sit still. The only difference is the story your brain attaches to those sensations. A player who interprets that pre-match buzz as fear shrinks. He gets quiet, avoids the ball, plays the safe pass even when a better one is on. A player who interprets the exact same physical sensation as fuel walks out looking for the ball, demanding it, ready to take the risk. Same body, same chemicals, completely different 90 minutes. That single reframe, this isn't fear, this is my body getting ready to perform, is one of the most underused tools in football, and it costs nothing. But you can't just decide to feel that way in the tunnel. It has to be built in the hour before. Here's how. Control your inputs. In the final hour before a match, your brain is unusually sensitive to whatever you feed it. Music, conversation, the mood of the people around you. If you spend that hour scrolling your phone, arguing with a teammate, or listening to someone complain about the referee, you're loading the wrong software right before the most important 90 minutes of your week. Be deliberate. Some players need high energy music to switch on, others need silence and stillness to lock in. Figure out which one you are and protect that hour like it's part of your training, because it is. Rehearse the game before you play it. Elite performers across every sport use a method called mental rehearsal, closing your eyes and vividly imagining specific moments of the match before they happen. Not vague daydreaming about scoring a worldie, specific, realistic scenarios. Receiving the ball under pressure with your back to goal and finding the right pass, winning a header you're not favored to win, making a mistake early and recovering your shape within 3 seconds. The brain doesn't fully distinguish between a vividly imagined action and a physically performed one. The same neural pathways activate either way. Players who rehearse the hard moments, not just the highlight reel moments, walk into those situations during the actual game having already lived them once. Build a switch on cue. This is something almost every top performer has, and almost no school-level player does on purpose. A specific, repeatable physical action that you do right before you cross the white line. Tying your laces a certain way, slapping your thighs twice, a specific phrase you say under your breath. The action itself means nothing. What matters is that you've repeated it enough times that your brain now associates that exact motion with its time. After a few weeks of doing it deliberately, it stops being a ritual and starts being a trigger. Your focus sharpens the moment you do it, almost involuntarily. Get this hour right, and you've already won half the battle before you've touched the ball. Get it wrong, and no amount of talent fixes a nervous system that's working against you. Here's a mistake that's almost universal at school and grassroots level. Players treat the warm-up as something to get through, not something that actually determines how the first 20 minutes of the match go. Think about it logically. Your muscles, your joints, and, most importantly, your nervous system are not ready to sprint, twist, and decelerate at full intensity straight from sitting on a bench. Ask any player to be honest, and most of the worst injuries and worst first half performances they've had trace back to one thing: stepping onto the pitch with an engine that hadn't actually started yet. The biggest warm-up mistake is static stretching right before kickoff, standing still, holding a hamstring stretch for 30 seconds. It feels productive. It's actually counterproductive. Research on pre-competition preparation consistently shows that long static holds right before explosive activity can temporarily reduce power output and reaction speed. Your body interprets a long static stretch as a signal to relax the muscle, which is the opposite of what you need 90 seconds before a sprint. What you actually want is a warm-up that raises the nervous system, not one that calms it down. That means dynamic movement, leg swings, walking lunges with a twist, high knees, lateral shuffles, short bursts of acceleration building up to near match speed sprints. The goal is to gradually wake up every system you're about to demand things from: your heart rate, your joint range of motion, your reaction speed, and your muscles' ability to fire explosively. A genuinely effective pre-match warm-up has a shape to it, almost like a ramp. First, get the heart rate up and the blood flowing with light jogging and movement in multiple directions, not just straight lines, since a match never asks you to move in only straight lines. Second, open up your hips, ankles, and thoracic spine with dynamic mobility work, the joints that limit your stride length and your ability to turn and scan if they're stiff. Third, and this is the part almost everyone skips, finish with short, sharp, near maximum effort movements, a handful of 10 to 15 meter sprints, a few explosive jumps, quick changes of direction at real speed. This final stage is what actually tells your nervous system we're about to do this for real, and it's the single biggest separator between a player who looks sluggish for the first 15 minutes and one who's sharp from the opening whistle. One more thing worth saying clearly: your warm-up should also include touches on the ball at matching intensity, short, sharp passes, a few first-touch finishes, a couple of headers. Your body isn't the only thing that needs activating. Your feel for the ball at full pace does too, and a warm-up that's all running and no football is only doing half the job. What you eat in the hours before a match has more influence on how you perform in the final 20 minutes than almost anything you do in training that week. And most players get it completely wrong without realizing it. Here's the core problem. Football is a stop-start, repeated sprint sport played over 90 plus minutes, and the fuel that powers that kind of effort is stored carbohydrate in your muscles and liver. If that store is running low by the second half, which happens constantly with players who either under-eat beforehand or eat the wrong things, your legs aren't lying to you when they feel heavy. They're genuinely running out of fuel, and no amount of effort or desire fixes an empty tank. The timing matters as much as the food itself. Your last proper meal should land roughly 2 to 3 hours before kickoff, enough time for your body to digest it without that food still sitting heavy in your stomach when the whistle goes, but close enough that you're not playing on fumes. That meal should be built around something your body can break down for steady energy: rice, pasta, oats, potatoes, paired with a moderate amount of protein and kept relatively light on fat and fiber, since both of those slow digestion right when you don't want anything slowing you down. In the final hour before kickoff, the goal shifts from fuel to top up: a piece of fruit, a small carbohydrate snack, maybe a sports drink, nothing heavy, nothing new that your stomach hasn't handled before. Match day is the worst possible time to experiment with a food you've never tried. Hydration deserves its own mention because it's the most invisible performance killer in football. Being even mildly dehydrated, a level so small you might not even feel thirsty, measurably slows reaction time and decision-making speed before it ever touches your legs. The mistake most players make is trying to fix this by drinking a huge amount of water right before kickoff, which just leaves you running around with a sloshing stomach. Hydration is a long game. It's about steady intake through the day leading into the match, not a last-minute correction. Get the fuel window right, and the difference shows up exactly where most games are decided, not in the first 10 minutes when everyone's fresh, but in the final 20, when the players who fueled properly are still accelerating and the ones who didn't are jogging. Here's something that separates players who control matches from players who get controlled by them. What happens in the opening 10 minutes is rarely about skill, it's about information. Most players spend the first few minutes of a game just trying to get a feel for it. Vague, passive, reactive. The players who consistently look sharp from the first whistle are doing something different. They're using those opening exchanges to actively gather specific information they're going to use for the rest of the match. Which defender is uncomfortable on their weaker side, which midfielder switches off after losing the ball, how high or low the opposition's defensive line sits when their own team has possession, which winger tracks back and which one doesn't. This isn't complicated to start doing. It just requires deciding before kickoff that the first 10 minutes have a job to do beyond not making a mistake. Pick one or two specific things to look for. Maybe it's the body shape of the player marking you. Maybe it's which side the opposition prefers to attack down, and actively hunt for that information early, even in moments where you're not directly involved in the play. By the time the game is 15 minutes old, you should already know 2 or 3 things about the opposition that a player who is just feeling it out still doesn't. There's also a psychological dimension to those opening minutes that's easy to underestimate. The first hard tackle you win, the first time you call confidently for the ball under pressure, the first time you communicate loudly and clearly with a teammate, these moments set a tone, not just for the opposition watching, but for your own nervous system. Confidence in football is rarely built by thinking your way into it. It's built by doing something decisive early and then having your brain register, okay, I'm actually fine out here. Players who wait passively for confidence to arrive before committing to anything, or waiting for something that only shows up after action, not before it. So treat the first 10 minutes as a deliberate phase of the game with its own specific job. Gather information, make 1 or 2 early decisive actions, and set the tone, rather than something you're just trying to survive until the real game starts. You are going to make a mistake in your next game, not might, will. The only question is what happens in the 10 seconds immediately afterward, because that 10-second window is where most amateur performances actually fall apart, not in the mistake itself. Watch any school or grassroots match closely, and you'll see the same pattern over and over. A player gives the ball away, and their entire body language changes. Shoulders drop, head goes down. The next 3 actions are noticeably more hesitant than the ones before the mistake. The original error cost the team possession. The reaction to it often costs far more because a player whose head has dropped is half a step slower to recover defensively, half a beat late to get back into position, and visibly less willing to receive the ball again for the next few minutes. The players who handle this differently aren't immune to mistakes, they're just faster at closing the loop on them. Build yourself a specific physical reset action, something as simple as clapping your hands once, or a short exhale, or touching the badge on your shirt, and do it every single time something goes wrong, whether that's a lost ball, a missed tackle, or a poor first touch. The action itself is almost irrelevant. What matters is repetition. Over time, that small physical habit becomes a signal your brain learns to recognize. That moment is finished. Attention forward. There's a useful mental shift that goes alongside the physical reset too. Instead of treating a mistake as proof of something, I'm not good enough. I always do this. Treat it as information about the specific situation. A misplaced pass under pressure isn't a verdict on your ability. It's a data point. Maybe you needed an extra half second to scan before receiving. Maybe the passing lane was tighter than it looked. That reframe sounds small, but it changes whether the next 60 seconds of the match are spent recovering or spent spiraling. The goal isn't to never make mistakes. Every player who's ever stepped on a pitch has made dozens in a single match. The goal is to make sure your worst moment of the game doesn't quietly create your second and third worst moments in the minutes that follow it. Halftime is one of the most mismanaged 15 minutes in grassroots football, and most players waste almost the entire break without realizing it. Here's what typically happens. Players walk in, collapse onto a bench, and spend the next 10 minutes either completely switched off or stewing on whatever went wrong in the first half. By the time the coach finishes talking and it's time to go back out, there's been almost no deliberate use of that recovery window, physically or mentally. A more useful halftime has a rough order to it. In the first few minutes, prioritize your body. Take on fluids, get something light into your system if you need carbohydrate top up, and keep moving rather than sitting completely still, since muscles that go fully cold in 15 minutes take longer to switch back on in the second half. Light movement, even just walking around or some gentle dynamic stretches, keeps you closer to ready than sitting motionless does. Mentally, the most useful thing you can do is the opposite of what most players do by default. Instead of replaying every mistake from the first half on a loop, pick one specific adjustment for the second half, something concrete, like track the runner from deep earlier, or get my first touch out of my feet quicker under pressure, and let that be the single thing occupying your head when the whistle goes again. A player walking back out with one clear adjustment in mind plays a sharper second half than a player walking out still mentally replaying 45 minutes of frustration. And in the final couple of minutes before you're back on the pitch, run the same switch on cue you used before kickoff. Your nervous system needs reactivating after 15 minutes of sitting down, just like it did before the first half. Treat the restart with the same seriousness you treated the original kickoff. Let's put the whole thing together into something you can actually use this weekend. Night before, prioritize sleep over everything else. Your reaction speed, your decision making, and your ability to recover from the match all depend more on sleep quality than on any last minute thing you do on the day itself. Lay out your kit, sort logistics, and remove anything that creates last minute stress the next morning of. Eat a proper breakfast even if your match is in the afternoon. This isn't your performance fuel yet, it's just keeping your body running steadily through the day. Avoid heavy, greasy food that sits in your stomach for hours. 3 hours before kickoff, your main pre-match meal, carbohydrate focused, moderate protein, light on fat and fiber. This is the fuel that's actually going to be available to your muscles by the second half. 1 hour before, begin controlling your inputs, music, environment, who you're around. This is when your switch on cue starts being relevant, even if you're not using it yet. A light carbohydrate top up here if needed. 30 minutes before, full dynamic warm up. Raise, open, activate, finishing with sharp, near match intensity movements and ball work, not static stretching. Final few minutes, tunnel. Run your switch on cue. Run a final mental rehearsal of 1 or 2 specific scenarios you expect to face early in the match. First 10 minutes of the game. Actively gather information. Make 1 or 2 decisive, confident actions early, even small ones. Throughout the match, use your reset action the instant something goes wrong. Don't let a 10-second lapse become a 10-minute one. Halftime. Fluids and light movement first. One specific tactical adjustment second. Switch on cue again before you walk back out. After the final whistle, whatever the result, spend 2 minutes identifying one thing that genuinely went well and one specific thing to work on. Not vague frustration, not empty praise. Specific feedback is what actually compounds over a season. Vague feelings don't. Graphic, full timeline graphic, night before through full time condensed onto one screen. None of this requires extra talent. It requires deciding before the whistle ever blows that the hours leading into a match are part of the game, not separate from it. So before your next game, don't just show up and hope you feel right. Build the hour, run the warm-up properly, fuel the tank on time, walk into the first 10 minutes looking for information instead of just surviving them. And the moment something goes wrong, reset it on purpose instead of carrying it around for the next 20 minutes. Talent gets you selected. What you do in the hours before kickoff decides whether that talent actually shows up.